I am the Residential Zero Waste Special Projects Associate. Everything that we do is outreach. We're just trying to always get the word out. So whether it's just setting up the program, setting up the stations for businesses, residential homes, apartments, whether school ed goes out and does education, like straight up presentation to the schools, showing them how to compost, what is compostable. I think that's very valuable. And Zero Waste is divided up into 3 groups, which is city government, residential, and commercial. And so each team is responsible for their sector. And so my sector, but all our policies are very uniform. So we do, we work with our sectors, but then all our policies kind of blanket all over it. And so when we passed, our goal is of 75% diversion by 2010 and zero waste by 2020. That's for all sectors. But we get there in our sectors in our own way. For us, it's mainly when nothing goes to landfill and nothing is incinerated. And once that happens, then we've achieved our definition of zero waste. But of course, there's many other things that we want to see happen. I mean, really, zero waste is more of a theory. No one's ever really gotten there yet. But it's a goal in which we're trying to achieve. So, you know, instead of saying we want 95%, you know, no, we want zero waste. And we can't really envision it just yet, how it's going to look like, because no one's ever been there. But the fact that we're getting closer and closer is encouraging. Whatever we can do to encourage producers and consumers to make better choices that will help us get our programs through, then we'll be there. As for the food serviceware ordinance, that's doing very well. There's very few people using styrofoam out there, and we have the Styrobuster team going around checking out restaurants and see how they're doing, and they're actually doing very well. Most restaurants are complying. For instance, on the garbage bills, there is incentives. So for residents, recycling composting is virtually free. It's built into the garbage rates, so it pays for itself. So the more you reduce what's going into the black cart, the more you recycle, the more you compost, the lower your garbage bill goes and the less you pay. So because basically the way we implement our garbage program is the more you throw away, the more you pay. In our newest campaign, the Apartment Compost campaign that's happening, we're going to be tabling, going door to door, talking to residents, giving out kitchen pails to help them compost their food scraps. We'll give them outreach material, ask their questions, answer their questions. We'll do a lot of that kind of on-the-ground work with people as much as we can. Recycling composting is voluntary, at least in the residential sector, city and commercial. And so it's kind of interesting that we've gotten so far with doing education, doing outreach, passing the various pieces of legislation that we did, the ordinances, which hasn't been so heavy-handed, you know, hasn't been like, you have to do it, you know. Right now, we're pushing for legislation, and we will continue to push for legislation that will kind of control any new products, try to eliminate products that are not, that we're not able to handle. So whether it's through extended producer responsibility and letting producers know that, you know, you can't be using styrofoam or something like that. If we pass mandatory, which is just passed the first committee in Board of Supervisors, then it will apply to them. So it's overarching. Like that will require folks to recycle and compost all across the city. Our focus of the mandatory ordinance is education, using it as a tool.
Yeah.
And because that's pretty much the only way we can see us getting to zero waste. So at least one of the tools to get there. And it's, so we're not trying to get, be the cops or anything like the recycling cops or anything like that. We're really trying to use this ordinance to make equal access to recycling compost. We want to use education before using the heavy hand. I don't think it should be stricter because we have to be reasonable as well. I know they talk about wanting to have a compost facility that's currently in Vacaville.
Yeah.
They want to move that closer to us. It's all about space, really, land, where they can have the facilities. I know they want to connect it closer just to make things more streamlined, reducing the carbon footprint through transportation. The other interesting thing that's happening is the anaerobic digestion that's happening with East Bay Mud. It's like a pilot. And they're taking, I think it was 300 tons, but a certain amount of tons of food waste going to the wastewater facility in East Bay. And they're using that to run their facilities. And on top of that, they're trying to see, how much energy can we produce and could we possibly be a source of energy? So that, instead of going all the way to Vacaville, and if they could go to East Bay, plus get the most out of the food waste energy and then still compost that would be ideal. Digestion, like in the body, usually happens with oxygen, so aerobic digestion, right? So anaerobic would be digestion without oxygen, in the presence of no oxygen. So the way the digesters work at East Bay Mud is there's just like these big tanks where they put food waste in it and then they digest it. You know how composting in Jepson Prairie is aerobic digestion because they're using oxygen and you're composting all that. And all the microbes are using oxygen to digest all of the food scraps. But in these vessels, they use the bacteria a little different, and they digest it without oxygen, and they produce methane. And normally, methane is bad for the environment, but if it's contained, you could capture that methane and use that for energy. And then there's much more energy in methane than, like, say, CO2 or something like that to be converted. So, and hopefully there's no release, and that's the goal. There's no release of methane into the atmosphere, and we can use that too for energy. And then the residuals, after they've captured all the methane, they can use that residual to turn into compost. So it's just really extracting as much as we can from the food scraps and whatever we can, yard trimmings or whatever they put in there. I just feel like zero waste and kind of touching on pollution issues and litter issues, those kind of things are very close to people. It's something that resonates with everyone because everyone has some kind of waste. And I feel like this is one way I could, by getting involved, especially in the residential sector, I would have more opportunity to work with people, to get the word out, and just having people think about something as small as getting rid of this little piece of paper has a big impact, and there's a large upstream impact, downstream impact. So I felt like I could reach more people this way.